train to Jordan. Don't need no ticket, you just thank the Lord. Faith is the key that'll carry you over. You don't need no ticket, you just thank the Lord and then you ride. I said now people get ready for the train to Jordan. Don't need no ticket, you just get on board. I said now faith is the key that'll take you over. You don't need no ticket, you just get on board and then you ride. Oh, you ride. You better ride.
Good evening, Robin. How are you
Hello.
this?
Good. How are you doing this evening?
Oh, I'm doing just fine. I'm doing just fine. This has been a
Wonderful,
busy,
wonderful.
busy week. This has been a really busy week. So we're changing our topics. We've been talking about small businesses with for profit and non-profit and all that it takes to get started. I'm sure we'll get back onto that at some point in the future because want to try to always wrap around and make sure that whatever we're sharing is getting out to as many people as we can get uh, information to. There's a lot going on with politics, with DEI, uh, executive orders, and so forth. And so
Right, right.
we're gonna dip into a little bit of that.
It really is. Politics is something that we've tried to stay away from, but of course, it's life, so we have to do our due diligence and touch on it.
Exactly, exactly. Um, so tonight we're gonna start digging into some of the executive orders. There has been 53 executive orders since January 20th. Some was written as early as Friday. I mean, signed as early as Friday. But we couldn't go through all 54. So what we did was we went through and picked out some that might be that we felt like might be real relevant to now. And of those, we're going to really kind of drill down on a few of them. So this is going to be kind of a mixture of things. So let's get started if you're okay with that, Robin. We want to thank everybody for joining us tonight, and we hope that this is informational, good information for you, and that you get something out of it that you can definitely use or help you in a lot of ways. So I'm hoping that everyone can see that. Um, these are some of the 54 executive orders that have been signed since January 20th. And we have initial recession of harmful, that's executive order number 2. Um, Initial recession of harmful executive orders and actions. All that means is that uh, Donald Trump rescinded a lot of the executive orders that President Biden had put into place. It's not, we're going to not really drill in on that, but if you are aware of some of the executive orders, and you're going to see these executive orders that uh, Donald Trump actually rescinded or signed an executive order to get rid of it. The next one is number 5, and this is one that we're actually going to show you a breakdown of what DEI is. This is rolling back the rolling back DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I know a lot of people may know what that means. They hear the acronym all the time, but let's just really delve into what it is. So we're going to pull this down, and we're going to actually show you a video that we've created that will really break it down, and then we're going to talk about that particular executive order, which was signed on January 20th.
Decisions and movements that shape our community. Welcome to Hidden Voices, where we uncover the truths behind policies, decisions, and movements that shape our communities. We're diving deep into diversity, equity, and inclusion, also known as DEI. DEI has been a major focus across workplaces, schools, and government policies in recent years, but with new executive orders and shifting perspectives, there are questions about its future and its real impact on various communities. So, what exactly is DEI, and how do these changes affect different groups? Let's break it down. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, refers to efforts and policies that promote fair treatment, representation, and opportunity for all people, regardless of race, gender, disability, or background. Diversity is about recognizing and valuing differences in identity, including race, gender, age, religion, and more. Equity ensures that resources and opportunities are fairly distributed, sometimes adjusting to address historical disadvantages. Inclusion is creating environments where all individuals feel welcomed, respected, and able to participate fully. DEI initiatives were created to address systemic barriers that have historically marginalized certain groups. But now we're seeing policies that aim to scale back these initiatives. What does this mean, and who will be affected the most? Let's talk about it. One of the most misleading and frankly racist premises about DEI is the idea that it exists solely for Black people or that it gives Black people an unfair advantage. Let's be clear. Diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives are about fairness for all marginalized and underrepresented groups, including women, people with disabilities, veterans, and LGBTQ+ communities. The notion that DEI is some kind of special favor for Black people is rooted in misinformation and fear-mongering. Never in the history of the United States has any law been passed to give Black people an advantage over others in any arena. In fact, the laws and systems of this country have historically done the exact opposite, structurally disadvantaging Black communities for centuries. When people claim that DEI gives Black people an unfair advantage, what they are really saying is that leveling the playing field feels like oppression to those who have benefited from generations of racial privilege. DEI isn't about giving one group an upper hand, it's about removing barriers that have been intentionally placed in the way of marginalized communities for decades. In early 2025, President Donald Trump signed several executive orders directly affecting DEI initiatives across various sectors. Executive Order 14151, Ending Radical and Wasteful Government DEI Programs and Preferencing, signed on January 20, 2025. This order terminates all DEI programs within federal agencies, aiming to eliminate what it describes as radical and wasteful spending on such initiatives. Executive Order 14173, Ending Illegal Discrimination and Restoring Merit-Based Opportunity, signed on January 21, 2025. This order prohibits federal departments from issuing contracts to private organizations that enforce DEI frameworks, specifically preventing affirmative action by government contractors. Executive Order 14148, Initial Rescissions of Harmful Executive Orders and Actions, signed on January 20, 2025. This order rescinds several executive orders from the previous administration related to DEI, climate regulations, and certain border policies, effectively rolling back prior DEI advancements. These executive orders represent a significant shift in federal policy regarding DEI, with potentially widespread implications for workplaces, educational institutions, and public services. Who is affected? Workplaces and employees. Many companies have built DEI into their hiring, promotion, and training programs. With changes to DEI policies, some workplaces may remove initiatives that prioritize underrepresented groups. Employees who benefited from mentorship programs, diversity scholarships, or equal pay initiatives may see these supports disappear. Students and education system. Many schools and universities have diversity scholarships, inclusive curriculum changes, and hiring practices aimed at recruiting diverse staff. Rolling back DEI efforts could lead to less representation among faculty and fewer opportunities for minority students. Programs supporting first-generation college students, students with disabilities, and marginalized groups may face cuts. Government and public services. Federal and state agencies have used DEI frameworks to ensure fair hiring and access to public services. The removal of DEI mandates may change how minority-owned businesses access government contracts. Public services that focus on underrepresented communities, such as healthcare initiatives and community outreach, could be defunded. Women and gender equity advocates. DEI policies have supported women's leadership programs and equal pay initiatives. With the removal of DEI-based hiring practices, some fear a return to barriers that previously limited women's opportunities in leadership. People with disabilities. Accessibility and inclusion efforts, such as workplace accommodations and education resources, have been a major focus of DEI. If DEI is scaled back, disability advocacy programs could lose funding and momentum. LGBTQ+ communities. Inclusive policies have provided protection and support in workplaces, schools, and healthcare settings. If DEI protections are removed, discrimination policies may be rewritten, limiting rights and access to services. All in all, changes in DEI will affect racial and ethnic groups, women, LGBTQ+, people with disabilities, economically disadvantaged people, veterans and military families, religious minorities, older workers, formerly incarcerated people, immigrants, and refugees. So what happens next? The debate over DEI is far from over. Supporters argue that these policies help level the playing field, while opponents claim they create unfair advantages. But regardless of the stance, one thing is clear. Changes to DEI will impact millions of people across different walks of life. So what happens next? The debate over DEI is far from over. Supporters argue that these policies help level the playing field, while opponents claim they create unfair advantages. But regardless of the stance, one thing is clear. Changes to DEI will impact millions of people from different walks of life. Thanks for tuning in to Hidden Voices. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and stay informed. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep speaking up.
Okay, Robin, we definitely want people to comment, so feel free to comment. Uh, Robin, let's break this down.
Okay.
So there's a uh, there's an incorrect or fallacy out there that DEI was primarily set up for Black people, so that they would level the playing field for us, for Black people. What a lot of people aren't really getting is DEI covered people with disabilities, covered military veterans. So when you went out to apply for a job, you could get extra consideration because you're a vet, or that you could get considerations because, of course, you had a disability. Me working in a field with people with disabilities, this is very close to my heart. Uh, no longer can you look at those things, any of those things, when you're considering when people are in well, right now it's in the federal government, but it's also bleeding out into the private sector, where Target, Walmart, Lowe's, places like that have scaled back or gotten completely rid of their DEI programs, which were designed to make the field more level and making sure that different discriminations didn't happen. Me being a woman, women have fought very hard to get equal pay and equal this. Well, no one's going to take that into consideration anymore. And so we would have to be completely blind to believe that there is not bias in our society
Mhm.
towards not just race, but other levels of bias. And so with DEI being scaled back, diversity, equity, and inclusion, with that being scaled back, um, if you are trying to, I'll give an example. If we were in the schools and we were trying to have teachers that were black and from maybe a Muslim teacher, something that looks like the kids that go to that school, not just one race of kids. You can't recruit teachers like that. You can't hire teachers with that as part of the consideration. Is that right or wrong? Well, if this was a society that actually did everything based on merit, then
Mhm.
uh, then maybe it wouldn't be a need for that. But as we know, this is not a society that does everything based on merit. And if you cannot look at where a person's come from, or a person's disability, or the fact that a person spent their time in the military representing and protecting the country, if you cannot look at that, then that is a very big concern. Not to mention the concern that yes, black people are part of this, and there, never in the history of the United States has it ever been what we would call a leveling playing field across the board,
Mhm.
where everybody truly has the same opportunities. Because you have to remember, many people are coming from behind. Um, and are the minority in this country. I mean, uh, the numbers speak for themselves, Robin. So that's
Exactly. If like you said, we wouldn't need DEI if the playing field was level, and unfortunately that is not true. And another example I like to give is like we have elderly people that want to work, and they can only work, they say they can only work 4 hours. Like you say, you see a lot of greeters at Walmart, and who's going to give them a chance? The DEI takes that away from them and say they can't stand for the 4 hours that they work. They need to be able to sit down. That's part of the package with the DEI. That's discrimination, because there's limitations on their working, um, their standard of working. And a long time ago, I don't know if people remember, but like ramps for handicapped people was not accessible in every establishment that you went to. They had to actually make it mandatory, because it wasn't there for everyone that needed it. So with the DEI program, it said, okay, if you're going to give them a job, then you have to make it accessible for them to get into the workplace. And so that's something else that it afforded them to do, was to put wheelchair ramps into establishments that need to be there. So it's not for just a minority, for the Black Americans. It's for a plethora of people, like you said, LGBT people, elderly people. It just array of people that this helps. Not everybody is born into nepotism or into a inheritance, and those are the people that are making the big decisions out there, and they're not taking into consideration to the other people who actually have to work hard, struggle, um, get an education, and go and put that education into a workforce. But if the doors are being closed as soon as they walk in because they look a certain way or their color is a certain way, then where do we start? How do we level the playing field?
so. What we want you to understand is that how this works. What does it look like? Well, what happen is if, in fact, there is anything that's considering a person's disability, a person's race, a person's gender, a person's religion, if the company or the if you're particularly in the federal offices, if you are receiving federal funds, if you are considering any of that, they will not they will withhold those funds. They are
Mm.
not funding any programs that are taking those things into consideration. I don't know how that works when you work with a mental, well, when it comes to hiring. You can serve them, but when it comes to hiring, you cannot look at that. You cannot take that into consideration at all, and you cannot accommodate that. Um, you're not required to accommodate that. Now, we have what is it? The Disability Act. So I'm sure that there is some more weeds that we need to get into to figure out how that works. The same thing with veterans. I know veterans often were told, go apply here. They really consider veterans. They won't be considering them any longer. And this went into effect today. This went into this. No, this went into effect the 20th. I have another one that went in effect today, so I misspoke. But this went into effect on January 20th. And so that is one of the executive orders that was signed.
Mm.
World Health Organization withdrawing the United States from the World Health Organization. Um, there's a lot of things with that. What does that look like? Well, that looks, in a nutshell, it's like this. If we were to have another pandemic, if we were to have any kind of um, medical issue or whatever you want to say, but that it affected the United States, we're basically out there by ourselves. Argentina is the only country that has agreed with us and backed out of the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization works with our works with the United States to develop vaccines, to study things like cancer, to study epidemics across the country. You know, uh, we get people come in and out, in and out, in and out of the United States. We go in and out, visiting other countries. Uh, so things can easily be tracked from one country to the other. By us bailing out, we'll no longer be a part of that. We'll no longer be looked at as a leader in health, in concerning health. Um, there is a lot to that one, just a whole lot. I'm trying to think. Um, there's a whole lot to that, and when you think about it, um, what we're saying is in the United States is that we can pretty much do it on our own, and we got all the tools and everything. Well, before even think about distribution. If there's an epidemic, if there's anything that's going on that's going to affect, about just logistically, managing getting supplies, all of those things from everywhere. If we needed to um, collaborate with another country, we would have to reach out to that country, which would probably delay any way to address it. To be really clear and candid here, one of the possible uh, uh, effects of getting out of that could be if we had another academic, it could result in massive deaths, even higher than the pandemic. Now, we try not to just say things from one point of view. So, the other side of that story is that people that support this move was really just say that they were disappointed in how the World Health Organization handled the pandemic, about the delay in actually saying that it was a pandemic and give not being completely transparent. Some of that may very well be true. Uh, so that's the reason that some said, well, we'll do it for ourselves. We don't really need other countries. We put a lot of money. We demote. United States does in fact put the most amount of money in the World Health Organization. We've taken that money out and decided that, as the United States has taken their money out and decided that they were going to use it inside the United States. But this country has grown tremendously, and I don't know how effective that's going to be just to be, out on a out on a out on the land just by ourselves, as though we
Mhm.
exist uh, as one, just as one. So, uh, and you would be amazed at the different things that the World Organization works with. I mean, they have scientists from all over the world, some of the brightest, the smartest, logistic um people that are really good in organizing and doing logistically organizing the distribution of medication, of treatment, of vaccines, and alike.
And
So,
I want to break that down a little bit more to what that looks like. Like when we had the pandemic and they came out with the first vaccination pretty quickly, and within another month, a month and a half, they came out with a second vaccine. Then they had stations set up everywhere where you could go and get your shots. And I remember going to the Fair Park, and it was about an hour and a half wait in line. We will no longer have those. So, like Tammy said, we had a mass amount of people to die from the original, um, the original pandemic. If we were to go into that again, I can't even imagine how many people would pass away because there's nothing in place to help that or prevent us with vaccine or research or coming up with something new that's been taken away.
and
And
in no way,
that just,
go on,
I
go
just
on.
want to say, I would like to know where their logic is, their thinking is. Why do they want to put so many people in harm's way? Why not prevent something or be in proactive rather than being reactive? I don't understand the logic behind that.
Well, what they're saying, Robin, is that we spending a bunch of money, and when we had the pandemic, the World Health Organization wasn't transparent. There is some truth to that. However, you gotta balance that. Do you work with them? Do you insist in more transparency? Every other country, a lot, not every country, but a lot of countries, or um, remaining and choosing to remain, even though they have some of the same issues, they understand in the big picture about,
Mhm.
if something catastrophic was to happen, you would need to have partners that you would collaborate with. What
Right.
we have done is we have walked away from the partners, and that is concerning. That is, but their
Mhm.
is logic is that during the pandemic, and some of that may be exaggerated, a lot of it may be exaggerated, to be honest with you, but the talking points is that they were not transparent and that they was not responsive fast enough. Um, so no one else. You can. I searched and searched, and I wanted the number one answer. And I said, how many people? I mean, not how many people. How many countries are actually walking away from the World Health Organization in the world? And it is
Mhm.
one. It's Argentina. So that is the World Health Organization. Immigration and Border Security.
Hmm.
All right, this one is going to be really, um, this one's going to be really interesting. I want to put this back up here. Now, this one has a lot to do with the tariffs, and a lot of people won't think, they'll only think when they say border and immigration, they'll mostly think about, oh, well, we're going to get illegal people that are here illegally, we're going to get them out the country. Well, no, it's a lot deeper than that. Some of the talking points for this particular executive, um, for signing this executive order, was fentanyl and stopping the flow of drugs in the country, and also the illegal immigrants. And the way that one of the ways that they want to address that is with tariffs. So I heard a lady say the other day, "Oh, I wish I knew what tariffs was then. I wish I knew now what I know. I wish I knew then what I know now about tariffs." Um, so one of the ideas, and you'll see more of this, is charging tariffs on different places: Mexico, Canada, China. What does that look like? Well, that looks like a lot of higher prices for us. One of the things that um, the Trump administration is saying, oh, we don't charge enough for people to have their things in this country, even though they're saying, um, drugs, trafficking, illegal immigration. In this particular executive order is all about tariffs and charging, and us being able to charge people more to bring their stuff here. Well, I don't think a lot of countries, well, they think they feel like it's unfair to blame them solely on trafficking. And I will give you an example of what's really going on here. So Trump said, I'll give you an example. Canada, uh, is you're very much responsible for the drugs being in our country, so we're going to charge you a 25% tariff. Well, Canada answered them, and Canada said that is fine. We will charge you a 25% tariff on the things that you import from us, or the things that you want to purchase from us. And we would charge you 10% tariff on energy exports. Mexico joined along, and they said, we're going to charge you 25% on everything. So now what would Canada be talking about? What is everything? I mean, what is a 25% tariff on all imports? Well, we get fruit and vegetables, orange juice, peanut butter, wine, spirits, including Tennessee whiskey and beer, household appliances, and furniture. And on top of that would be energy. So this just a number of things. And this is just the beginning of their list. They have over, I think, $50 billion in tariff that they haven't even added to the list. And if our tariff in fact goes into effect, the 25% tariff would last for approximately 30 days. And then after that, the tariff will go up to 50%. So I don't know if we're going to go up to 50, and pretty soon the consumers, I don't know what's going to happen to the consumers. But, and then Mexico said the same thing. And Mexico said it was for pretty much almost everything. On all exports, including pork, cheese, let me see if I can get this: pork, cheese and produce, steel and aluminum, and then cars later. So that's what that would look like. And then we'll talk about China. So some people, we like to buy. We like economy shopping. Now, this went into effect today. Um, February 10th, starting today, anything that we order from places like Temu, like Shine, they're going to charge us a 15% tariff on that item. You will feel that. They will charge it to you. Used to be, if something was under $800, you could just order it and you pay regular shipping and all of that. Well, that's changed. The effective today, anything that you order is going to take longer and you're going to pay more for it. They also are charging the United States 15% tariff on all exports of coal and liquefied natural gas. They're charging 10% on U.S. exports of crude oil, agricultural machinery, and large displacement vehicles. I don't know what that is. Um, so, and the Minister of Commerce for China has imposed export restrictions on critical minerals, including I don't know what tungsten is, which are essential for various. It must be something that's used by various industries here in the U.S. And they are talking about those uh, increasing those tariffs if we do not come to an agreement. So where are we today? Oh, I'm going to stay here for a second. Where are we today? Um, right now, the tariff on China and I believe Mexico. I'm not sure. But yeah, China and Mexico have been paused for 30 days so that they can negotiate, and they are negotiating. Um, this would roll back, and also there are lawsuits. Like Canada is uh, having a lawsuit against the United States for unfair trade negotiations because there were no negotiation agreements that this clearly goes against, and so there are also some legal ramifications there. And let me just do this because I wanted to make sure that we didn't miss anything. The World Health Organization. So budgets. Who is proposing a $400 million budget cut following U.S. exit? So because U.S. exit, they had to cut their budget by $400 million. Global health, vaccines. We mentioned vaccines. We mentioned the um, pandemic or any pandemic preparedness, and this is the one that I was really interested in. Exasperation of inequalities. The U.S. exit from the World Health Organization may worsen health disparities, particularly in low income countries that rely on WHO support for essential health services. So that was a lot that I just said. That was a lot. But that is the immigration. He signs that, I believe, January 20th as well. Don't want anyone to think that it was only about getting people that are illegal out of the country. It was a lot in there, and some of it is economic and capitalist based about getting more money and charging other countries more money. Robin?
That tariff is definitely going to be pushed back down to us. Like you said, the 15% that will be charged now for going doing the quantity shopping, like the Timu and the Ally, Abby. I think it's Abby, but it's going to be pushed back to us. And I ran into a little difficulty the other day because I had to get some brakes on my car, and I had a warranty with the automotive shop. Well, come to find out, some of their stores have been closing. So I think he told me four stores have actually closed. So when I went to take my core back, they wouldn't take it because it was one of the stores that was closing. So I had to drive all over town looking for a store that was not closing so that they would take it back. And the reason they closed, they started closing, which I didn't realize in January, early January, because they knew this tariff was coming. If they had low sales, they didn't want to be bombarded with the high tariffs, and they already were having high sales. So they opted to just close their stores. With that being said, the prices also are going to go up on of their automotive parts because again they're going to push that price onto us. So everything that is imported is going to affect us one way or another. So with the fruits and vegetables and all those things going up, I encourage people to start gardens this year. If you can start a garden and save money on one thing that you normally buy from the store, that's a beneficial to you and your family.
But if we think about the inner city and the people that live in areas where it's a lot of apartments and stuff, and they don't have the land to, and they don't own a home, these costs are going to be uh, going on to all of us. So now we have the DEI,
Mhm.
which is being rolled back. We have tariffs, which are being revved up. We have WHO, which is being rolled back. So these things have happened just in the first couple of weeks of being here. I mean, of this administration. Law and justice. One thing they did do was reinstate capital punishment. Some of the things that they're doing is not, it's reinstated it for federal government, for the federal crimes. One of the things that they are doing is they're looking at more than lethal injection. One is, God, I cannot, um, just a second. Firing squad is one, and a new chemical, nitro something or another. So instead of just having lethal injection, one of the executive orders that he signed was to put firing squad back on the books as an option for. And if you don't believe me, I mean, I'm putting it up here for you to see it. This is the 18th um, uh, executive order. It was signed January 20th, 2025. Is restoring the death penalty and protecting public safety is what it's called. You can find it on uh, the White House website. It's right there for all to see. Right now, we only have lethal injection. It is another chemical compound, and then firing squad. And I, with my smart Alex, asked if they were going to put a hanging back on there, but no. Um,
Firing squad in the United States?
yeah,
That's
that
drastic.
that is drastic, and I thought that I wanted people to hear that. There is one state in the United States that still has hanging as one of their options. Of course, they haven't done anything like that since the 1800s. But firing squad was a kind of a shocker to me.
Hmm.
Education and free speech. Um, and I did skip that other one because it wasn't. I had it on here, but it really wasn't one that I was going to dive into today. I thought me and Robin could talk to y'all about that one because we may have to do this in two parts. Um, Education and free speech. Learned a lot there. So basically, it's like this. Um, what they're saying is, and before I say this, let me say that I'm not talking about anybody's religious beliefs. I have my religious beliefs. This is not about that, but this is about putting prayer back in school. and I know it sounds really good. Put prayer back in school. Uh, um, there are people in this country from all different religions, and putting prayer and putting religious things in the curriculums that our kids learn. Now, I will speak for myself right now. I get to choose who my kids and who my when my kids were younger, I got to choose who they get their religious learning from, what school, what church I wanted them to be in, what I wanted the type of people in the religion in their spiritual base. Was it yoking with mine and our family and our belief systems? This to me is Russian roulette, and I'm speaking for myself. And I feel sorry for teachers that are not at all comfortable with this. So I did a little digging, and this is about freedom of speech and transparency. So the good things about this particular executive order, in my opinion, is the transparency for the parent. The schools are not getting funds if they do not do if the schools do not adhere to this, then the additional funding will not go to the schools. We are in DIS. We are in the Dallas Metroplex. DISD has rejected this curriculum that we talked about earlier in our podcast when we first started, which was Bluebonnet. They have rejected doing that. Neither will Garland. Mesquite does not do it. Um, McKinney does not. But in Plano ISD does, Richardson ISD does, I believe Louisville ISD does. And so here is what I would say to parents. Regardless of whether they do their curriculum, one of the things that we have now is a lot of transparency. One of my questions was if we opted out for our child to do prayer with them in the school, would you force the child to be in the classroom? Would the child be forced to stay in the classroom? Because that would be really uncomfortable. No, the child will be given a different activity, but you have to go up to the school. Parents have to go up to the school and they have to say, I opt out of this. If the assignment is religious based and they say they're teaching them how to read, and it's religious based, and you do not want them participating, they will get an equivalent assignment, but you must follow through the steps of going by and filling out the appropriate paperwork to get your kid where they won't have to do certain parts. You also uh, will be able to literally ask for the curriculum and know the whole curriculum of what your kid is learning. If you do not like what your kid is learning, then they're putting money in charter schools. Now, all the charter schools don't mean they're all good, nor the private schools. And you can elect to put your child in a private school. The problem is how you're going to get them in there. Can't use DEI, of course. And uh, I just don't see a lot of people of color getting a whole influx of their kids in a bunch of private schools. The thing I do like is that it's transparent for the parents. And we are in Plano ISD, and I am sure that we will be going up there to do it. Now, if you know someone or if they are teaching the Bluebonnet curriculum, which was written by, which was approved by, what's his name? Greg Abbott. It was approved by Greg Abbott and Paxton and all that. And if that teaching is not what you would like them to learn, you can elect to get other options of things to teach them
Hmm.
that would be equivalent. Robin?
Now, the Blue Bonnet went in effect at the beginning of the year. Is
Hmm.
prayer already something that they're introducing to the schools, or they're still voting on it?
No, no, he signed an executive order for that.
So it's starting like now, or hmm. And like you said, a lot of people won't. well, won't be able to afford the private schools. And I know a lot of charter schools, they came up and they went down as fast as they came. So those are very scarce now. They're not like they used to be.
Well, they're supposed to be investing in charter schools, but we'll see. But the charter school must adhere to that program, though. So, moving them to a charter school, you're just moving them from Peter to pay Paul because you're going from one to the other. Private schools are not required to follow anyone's. They are on their own.
Hmm.
You
Wow.
know what I'm saying? So they're on their own. But again, we always encourage you. We really need to get down to this education piece and really understand what the kids are actually learning in school. We only have a couple of more, um, where we had education and technology, reducing regulations on businesses so that they can um, get contracts easier. This really could deal with safety issues because of regulations. And then
Hmm.
I had a little anecdote at the end that I found very amazing. South Africa. So we charged South Africa with with a massive um, tariff, and the reason is amazing. Let me see if I got it here. Hold on. The reason is amazing. Okay, so the president of South Africa put into effect something called an expropriation act of 2024. And we're not going to read all this. I'm going to just put it in a nutshell. If you want to see this, you can go to Reuters.com, apnews.com. You can get all of this information. But I'm just going to really put it in a nutshell. So, South Africa had a lot of land, and white South Africans, well, there was a law that was passed that said black South Africans couldn't own land. This was land that they owned. Uh, a law came out that said black South Africans could not own land. So white South Africans took over all of that land. They have been in that land owning and living and gathering wealth and everything on that land for many, many years. All right. So the president of South Africa said we have to right that wrong. That land never belonged to you. That land was either stolen or people even died. And then the law that they couldn't own land at all. And he said this land originally belonged to this person. So we're going to give this land back to this person. The United States did not like that. They said it wasn't fair because you were
Hmm.
taking people off of land that they already own.
Hmm.
So they put many tariffs on South Africa. The president of South Africa said, in a nutshell, you have lost your mind. We are not going to be afraid of you. That that land did not belong to them. That land originally belonged to Janie, whoever, you could say Robin. That land belonged to Robin. You stole it from Robin's family. We can prove that it was stolen from Robin's family. It was unjust to say simply because she's black that she couldn't own her land, and you're going to give her her land back. Many of the South African white people there in South Africa are actually willing to negotiate and work through this where they don't end up out on the streets or anything like that, but that the black people actually end up getting some or all of the land that was rightfully theirs. Uh, I tried to put this in a nutshell, and I tried to wrap this around my mind. So you came in my so so the United States is mad because, or they put tariff on people on South Africa because someone came in and took a person's home as their own and told them they wasn't allowed to own their home anymore, go find something else. And then somebody came in and said, you cannot do that. That home rightfully belongs to them. And so you have to give them their home back. Mm. This whole thing. And then America is also mad because South Africa is not happy and did this tariff because South Africa actually is not having a real good relationship with Israel. I That's one of the issues, and both of these were so comprehensive. I got to go into one, you got to go into the other, and of course we have our show every week, so I have to look into the other. This one fascinated me, maybe because I'm a black woman. It fascinated me, but it fascinated me that the United States is putting tariff on someone on South Africa because they want the land to rightfully go back to the rightful owners. That amazed me. It said that they were messing with, said that the South African president was messing with capitalism and the ability to be a wealth, and that it doesn't belong to them anymore. It belongs to the people whose families, it might not have been them, but it belongs to whoever stole the land. And I don't know. That's ironic to me because I don't know if I can go in a bank and get a whole bunch of money and then just take and say, well, it's mine because I got it now. That would be something. So that's you're absolutely right. That is sad. And the South African president is standing up and saying, we're not going to be afraid. I did what I did. So we are going to give these people back their land. Um, and like I said, if you want to read more about it, it's in the AP News. It's in readers.com. And I typically like the news circulations that are not biased, right wing or left wing, but just give me the meat and potatoes, the bones of what's going on. I make my own mind up. So these are, and also looking at the actual documents and what's actually in the documents and what they actually say, and finding tools to help you interpret the wording so that you'll clearly understand it. So that's pen to power. Pen to power. With that pen, you get a lot of power. And that's pen to power 54, which we did not go through 54. We'd be here a lot longer than that. But where we are going through the executive orders that affect our lives every day. So we found some that are affecting a lot of people. Sure, it was other things that want to say. That's why I like recording, so I can make sure that we get everything in it that we want. Robin?
Well, where do I begin?
Still on the shooting squad, on the what I tell you was
The fire squad.
yeah, the fire squad. Are you still on that?
I am mentally, and I'm a little blocked with that, and just listening to some of the stuff that I didn't actually even know. Um, hmm, it's very hardening. And I'm not as politically correct when I come to speaking as my co-founder Tammy is. Um, and to me, there's a right and there's a wrong. I don't believe in a gray area. There's a black and a white and a right and a wrong. And so much of this is wrong on so many levels. Um, you might ask, are we tired? How long? I always ask Tammy, how long do we have to fight? Are we tired? Yes. Discouraged? Yes. Overwhelmed? Yes. But like I heard on another, are we scared? No. We're going to tackle this like we tackle everything else. We just have to. So, with that being said, get your house in order. Do what you need to do to take care of you and your family. Get your finances in order. Educate your children. Do all you need to do to improve yourself and your family, and don't give up. Don't give up. We'll get through this.
Uh, I think that we need to stay, stay. You don't have to watch news 24 hours a day, and even when you do, they don't dig into the meat and potatoes. And we need an arena where we can actually dig into the meat and potatoes, the meanings behind the words, and actually stop saying someone signed 53 and ad-libbing two of them. We need to know what these things are and how they affect us. Now, I know we might go over just a minute because I don't want to end on such a note because we talked about some really difficult things today. So I talked to Robin and she was okay with it. I wanted to let you know that I recently published a book, Trinity's River, and I'm very happy with it. Um, it is about a civil rights attorney. She is smart and she is a whip, like a lot of women are. And she goes up against a narcissistic um, CEO that lives and breathes corporate greed. And it has lots of twists and turns. And I pulled out a sample of what was written in the book, and I wanted to share it with you and encourage you and ask you humbly to check it out. It's on Amazon, and you can check it out. It has samples in there where you can read a little bit of it. I really am proud of it because I think it is so relevant today and with the struggles that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. So, if you don't mind, I'll share a little bit of Trinity's River with you.
Steady and commanding.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we are here because power, unchecked, becomes poison. Because greed without accountability breeds monsters. Because entitlement without empathy erodes the very foundation of justice. And because no man, not even a black thorn, is above the law.
She paused, letting the words settle like a weight on the shoulders of those present.
For too long, we have watched men like William Blackthorne wield power like a weapon, carving out empires built on exploitation, deceit, and violence. We have watched privilege shield the guilty while the innocent was left in ruins. And worst of all, we have allowed it. Something is devilishly wrong when men like Blackthorne have the power to turn ministers into soldiers, while the voices of mothers and fathers all over the world cry out in desperation and praying for relief from the evil he embodies.
Thank you so much for staying to listen to that. It meant the world to me. And hopefully, this will contribute to something positive in the community and really spotlight and highlight the strength in people of color, Black people, and women all over. And so I really um, am humbled and proud that I have such a good or I have a good audience or stage with the people around me and the strong women and men that I've been fortunate enough to have in my life and to encounter and to use them as props for what I think is a really good work. Robin, there's your 1 minute. Go for it.
Actually, I overspoke my time a few minutes ago. Like I said, we're not giving up. Uh, we appreciate everyone for tuning in with us. We don't know what lies ahead for us, but we're not giving up. So we hope that you stay in here, stay the fight, to struggle with us, and get your house in order. We can't say that enough. Get your house in order. Get your kids in order. Give them everything that they need to succeed in this world. And we appreciate you joining us every week, taking out your time, out your schedule. And we just love you and appreciate everything. Y'all have a good week.
Okay, I'll make it really, really quick here. If you were to go to YouTube, you would see many of our videos and our different series that we have had, different podcasts. All of our podcasts are designed to empower and to educate. I would definitely encourage you to tell others about us and to definitely go on and check out some of the other things we've talked about: AI, about family, about education, about work, about empowerment. And we will continue to bring that to you. Our commitment is to always be authentic and transparent and not pretend that we know everything. And you will hear us say, I just don't know. This is all I was able to find out this week, and I'll keep looking. Um, so I thank you very much. Please remember to always like and share and subscribe to our podcast, and to share it with anyone that you know that's passionate about the community and about doing something positive. You all have a nice afternoon, and thank you again.
Come on and take your seat. You better rise. I said, now people get ready for the train to Jordan. Don't need no ticket, you just thank the Lord. Faith is the key that'll carry you over. You don't need no ticket, you just thank the Lord and then you ride. I said, now people get ready for the train to Jordan. Don't need no ticket, you just get on board. I said, now faith is the key that'll take you over. You don't need no ticket, you just get on board and then you ride. Oh, you ride. You better ride.